If you are an immigrant, you know that the struggle is real. We've heard many stories of disappointments and the fear of failures. I have lived those fears too. But after being here in Canada for 30 years as an immigrant, I can tell you firsthand that the real challenge is not the struggle itself. It is how you choose to confront it. Welcome to the Fullness of Life channel. My name is Joyce Lee. This is the Grandma's Guide to living a resilient, authentic, and flourishing life with less. I left Hong Kong in 1987. Part of the mass exodus, driven by the uncertainty leading up to the 1997 handover of Hong Kong from the British hands to the Chinese government. I was 29 years old, with a husband and one daughter and one career, with one bachelor degree. We were leaving everything behind for the unknown. Today at 66, my life is unexpected, with 4 grown children, 4 lovely grandkids, 3 advanced degrees, 2 successful careers, and a book on mission-driven unretirement. I got here because of one fundamental decision. I refused to be the immigrant who kept one foot on one boat and the other foot on the other. 我唔係一腳踏兩船嘅移民。I committed fully to the new life and determined to stay here for good. This video will show you how that singular commitment allowed me build an unexpected, fulfilled life, and how you can gain some insight and reflection into your own journey. We all face waves and storms, but a full commitment is the only way to ensure you get to the other side safely, amazed with wonders. I will give you a Reader's Digest summary of what happened between my age of 30 to 40. I remember arriving in Canada with 6 suitcases. My husband and I and the 4-year-old daughter packed in this small 1-bedroom apartment in Scarborough. We were there for about 1 year. Thanks to my brother-in-law, everything went very smoothly. However, the reality was still very daunting. Right after we arrived, we did the first 3 things that most immigrants will do. We looked after the finance, we tried to get the education set up for our children, and then we looked for jobs. The first thing we did, we went to the bank with our small amount of saving, we opened an account. And with my daughter ready for kindergarten, we went to a public school nearby and registered her. Thirdly is we started to look for jobs right away without losing a beat. To give you some perspective on the pressure that we faced, the prime rate at that time was about 14 to 20%. I remember putting our down payment and securing mortgage for our first house the first year after we arrived. We have locked in a whopping 16% mortgage rate for our little house in Burlington that cost about $180,000. Every single action was taken under massive financial stress, reinforcing the need to succeed here. I truly feel for new immigrants today. The financial, political, and economic pressures are far more extreme now. Think about the difference. We worry about a 20% interest rate, but you guys have to worry about the rising cost of housing. Well, in the past, our average home cost about $200,000 to $400,000. That will be considered luxury. But nowadays, just the housing cost in Toronto is more than $1 million on the average. I can see this is very difficult. It's a 500% jump. Another crucial imbalance is that at that time, minimum wage was about $7.6. And now, after 35 years, the minimum pay in Canada is about $17.50. How would that keep up with inflation? Not exactly. And I want you to know that the massive scale of financial climb that you're facing, and that is why your commitment to succeed must be stronger than ever before. One thing I learned now that I did not know then is about adopting a minimalist mindset. You can check out my other videos about minimalism. Basically, choose simple living and only consume what you truly need. Let go of the unnecessary gadgets, declutter your physical and your mental space, adopt digital minimalism, and focus on what is most essential and get rid of the rest. And that includes your daily activities. Why pack so many things in one day? Manage this balance as well as believing in yourself that you do not have to follow the path that everyone is taking. For example, when we were younger, it's very important to buy a house and then you have a stable career, raise your children. Nowadays, with house prices so high, however, there seems to be some correction happening, but still, it is very difficult to buy a place off the bat. Renting is not bad. You can seek other solutions as long as you balance it. Well, after living for so many decades now, I have a different view on money. Yes, I believe that we need the amount of money in order to live comfortable. However, the constant accumulation of money and stuff, that may not be the only way to live a fulfilling life. Now, back to 1987. My first taste of Canadian work was actually a job at Tim Hortons. I worked there for 6 weeks before I started my full-time professional job. Because I was part-time, so they put me on all 3 shifts. Well, the night shift was brutal. I worked from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. in the morning. And I remember one customer was really angry with me because I couldn't manage his order quickly. He ordered a 1 large coffee double-double, 2 medium with 3 sugars, 1 black, and 2 medium tea with 2 sugars. No tea bag. Well, I was battling jet lag, a language barrier, and trying to manage a complicated order. I did not do well that time, but I tell you that I was present and I committed to the job. I can feel for you if you are working at a fast food restaurant or Tim Hortons. It's not an easy job, even though they pay only the minimum. At that time, my pay was about $7.50 per hour. Let's talk about the first milestone in my career in Canada. One Sunday afternoon, I had a phone call from a headhunter. He told me that the job that I interviewed for was successful and the offer will come on Monday. Soon as he told me that my new job will pay $40,000, I jumped up and down. I was so excited like a little girl. That sounds like a fortune to me. I took my jobs seriously and watched every penny we spent. I can tell you that at that time, we were shopping for a baby car seat. We got the cheapest one, but it's relatively safe, and that cost $29 at Sellers. The store already closed. But today, I look at my daughter's car seat that she bought. She spent over $1,000 for that upper baby car seat stroller set. And you can tell the difference. I also remember we never went on vacation for at least 10 years. I usually was embarrassed on the Monday in the office. While the coworkers gather around the water cooler, they will talk about, the weekend trips and the vacation that they took. And whenever it's my turn, I didn't tell anything because usually I spend my weekend cleaning the house or going for shopping for bargains for the next week. There's not much to tell. In those early years, the singular commitment really paid off. We were able to focus on growing the family, and I was quite committed to upgrading my skills at work. So, in a few years' time, I found that my income doubled. I was fortunate to sustain continuous employment by upgrading my skills, eventually earning a six-figure income. And that was helpful in raising my family. Well, within 20 years, we hadn't just survived. We have built a Canadian family. We have a modest four-bedroom house, and the four children are growing fast. They are rooted deeply in communities. Maintaining dual incomes while raising a family would have been impossible without the relentless help from my in-laws, the grandparents, and the extended families. At that time, our local church families were also very close to us, and those are great supports. Looking back, juggling work, children, the house was hard. There was simply not enough time in a day. I was always rushing here, rushing there, and then trying to get things done fast. My husband and my children usually don't get the best of me, especially during homework time or project work. By the way, I usually wasn't the person that helped them with their homework. But despite my shortcomings, because of the structure and the independence that I demanded of them, my children grew up strong, and they are very independent. For any parents that struggle with balance, you've got to hear this. I attribute the beautiful outcomes of my children to the grace of God, the guidance of grandparents, support by extended families, and their own resilience, even though I fell short in many ways. So you got to trust that your children can also thrive because they are continuing to learn and grow despite our imperfections. Fast forward to my 50s. Well, the children were growing up, and the survival mode of the first 2 decades finally lifted. It was time to pivot the commitment inward towards my own finding meanings and purpose in life. I started to refocus my learning and career. I signed up for graduate studies part-time. While this period brought the joy of learning new stuff, it also brought major crises, such as conflicts in close relationships and managing chronic illness that were developing in my two teenagers. Also at that time, we're navigating the sandwich generation. Both me and my husband have aging parents, and we need to care for them, for their finance, for their mobilities, as well as for their well-being. Between work, study, home, and caregiving, my schedule was overflowing. It was made messier by my own menopause experience and a new permanent thyroid condition that I developed. Now I know my priorities. Health is the most important, whether it's physical, mental, or spiritual. But the commitment I made at the age of 29 is still holding. I powered through those years and packed up 3 advanced degrees: a master's in Christian counseling, master's in aging and health, and ultimately my PhD in human relationships. They weren't just titles. They are the building blocks so that I can live out my life mission. I built a second career in clinical counseling, pivoted back to project management consulting to share that knowledge more widely, and I trust that new doors will open in the future for me to continuing my growth and carrying out my life mission. Long story short, I'm in my 60s, gone through the round circle, living my unretired life right here in Squamish, British Columbia. Well, I am cheering for my grown children, playing with my grandkids, supporting my 94-year-old mother, and crafting the next leg of my own journey. I am literally living the theme of my nonfiction book, Reimagine Your Retirement. And this is exciting. Looking back over this unexpected fulfilled life, the true success was the peace that came from one thing. That is the full commitment itself. I chose my one boat at 29 and poured every ounce of my energy of steering it forward. That's the only way to build a rewarding life, by being all in. Now I want to hear from you. After watching my journey, what is your biggest nugget of gold that you can share with other immigrants? If you find this video helpful, I would appreciate you sharing it with other friends or families. My hope is to reach and help more people. I want to support you through your growth in your immigration journey, or if you're a second generation from immigrants, you too can live a fulfilling life. Thank you for listening. Until next time, keep yourself in that one boat and enjoy that boat ride. Thank you for watching. Bye.